Welcome to Speaking Prowess. Are you ready to supercharge your communication skills and achieve unstoppable success? You're in the right place. Join Sifu Rafael, visionary founder and world-renowned master instructor, as he transforms leaders into powerful communicators. Joining Sifu is co-host Brigitte Hufele, a dynamic businesswoman, global speaker, and NLP master trainer, and the Skilled Center of NLP team. They will deliver unmatched expertise and energy to every episode. Prepare to unlock your full potential and make every conversation count. This is Speaking Prowess, where your journey to communication mastery begins.
Good morning. Happy Friday, Jeannie. Thank you so much for being the co-host today. How are you?
I am doing fabulous, getting ready for the last minute holiday and making it as fun and relaxed as possible.
That is it. Fun, right? A lot of people take stress as part of the holiday and they forget the fun part.
Yes. Yeah. And we're going to make it all about the fun part.
Yeah, especially on this show because we have an exceptional human being joining us. Let's go ahead and bring her.
Yes.
Jodi, how are you today? Happy Friday.
Hello, I'm doing well. Thank you so much. Happy Friday. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So today we're talking about communication, and obviously because speaking prowess is all about communication, but the unmissable insights and stories, right? What does that mean to you?
Unmissable insights and stories. I think we learn how to communicate with each other by observing and learning from our experiences. So often we find ourselves in situations with other people where, you talk about an unmissable, something happens and you think, oh, wow, this is a major lesson as to how I did not communicate well or how I should be communicating. And the idea is that we learn from those parts of our story to see our story continue to move forward with healthy relationships and effective communication. But we have to be willing to learn from ourselves, from our mistakes, and from those around us.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeannie.
Communication, starts here. It starts here and then it goes to here. And when I'm not listening or present, I find for myself, my communication gets a little sketchy. So being present and really using my listening skills to what are they saying? And then asking those questions to clarify so I don't miscommunicate. And it's, you know what? We're human. So it's an evolving process.
It sure is.
Yes.
Look at how well Jodi is communicating. Look at the tree behind her. Look how well decorated, how pristine it looks. Every little detail is communicating her style. Her book. Oh, by the way, I have the book. It's a great book. And the image on her book is communicating something, right? If you look at it, it's the mask, right? You're unmasking, it's no filter. And let me read the unmasking the woman God created you to be. I'm a man, but guess what? It talks to me too, right?
I'm glad. It's supposed to.
Yeah. So if you're a man, don't be ashamed to get this book because it does say unmasking the woman. Just take out the WO and it's unmasking the man God created you to be. Think of it that way, gentlemen. So let's talk about the insights that we can get when we we get into a story about whether it's our life or the story of someone else, the insights that we can get from listening to someone. One of the things I always say is, I'm not learning if I'm speaking. I already know my story. I can tell it. I will not learn anything new. But if I tell you about it and you give me your insights, I might learn something about me I never even thought about.
Mm.
And that's communication, my friends, right? What are your thoughts on that, Jeannie?
So for me, I mean, behind me, you'll see, be the hero in your story, whatever that is for you. When people see, they can be the hero of their own story, because it isn't about me. It's about who's in front of me and how can I best help them to wherever they want to go. And being the hero in our own story is, that's not with ego. That's meant with overcoming obstacles or just moving forward or whatever it may be for you, being that hero. I believe children and other adults and everyone wants to have that hero story. And I believe we all have our own hero story.
Love it. Love it. What are your thoughts, Jodi?
I completely agree. This idea of being the hero of your story, it's really all about our perception of ourselves. Um, whether it's from childhood or a situation when you're a teenager or maybe in your early 20s or at any point in life, different things come our way. We face different struggles, we face different trials, different events in our lives that really begin to shape our perception of ourselves. And that affects our story. And so often, unfortunately, I think we can fall into a trap of perceiving ourselves not as the hero of our story, maybe as just even a victim or just not good enough, right? We're humans and we constantly look to the people around us to tell us that we're good enough, to give us that value. And when we don't get that message reinforced from the people around us, what does that do to our perception of ourselves? We begin to think that we're not enough, that we're not worth it, that we're lacking in some way. But when we step back and we take the time to really view ourselves, make sure we're viewing ourselves as who God intended us to be, right? The hero of our story saying, you are capable of amazing things because you were created to do this. You are able to step out and try something new, and you don't have to be afraid. Even if you fail, you can still do it. But the only way we're able to take those leaps of faith, those steps that we're not quite sure of, is by having a proper perception of who we are and how we have been equipped to do what has been put in front of us. So
Ooh,
it's definitely something we have to be checking in with. How am I seeing myself and not just the people around me?
wow. I love this. And listening to you really brought into retrospect of one of the greatest creations that we sometimes take for granted: the mirror.
Mm.
The mirror. What if that was never created and we walked around and we didn't know what we even looked like, but we had to understand who we are based on everyone else's view of us? Would that change our perception of who we are? It reminds me when you see an animal see itself for the first time and they jump because they never saw, and then they get, have you ever seen a picture where they put like a dog or an animal and they attack it? It is so At first it's funny, but then we have to take a deeper look at that study, if you will. I call it a study because it's a study of us.
Mm.
What are we seeing when we look in that mirror? Are we afraid of what we see? The only reason we can become afraid of what we see is because of our actions we've taken. It truly reflects as to who we've become based on those actions.
I,
It's a great, great experiment, right?
I love the mirror, and looking into the mirror and who's looking back at you. Yeah, I was on a call the other day and we were talking about how we talk to ourselves. Would, when I said to one of the young ladies on the call, I said, would you ever talk to somebody else the way you're talking to yourself? And she went, no.
Mm.
And I went, well, why are you talking to yourself in such a mannerism?
Mm.
It's such an inside job for us to show up in the way that we were meant to show up, the way we were created and meant to show up.
Mm.
Yeah, I love the mirror.
The mirror is a powerful tool if we know how to use it.
Yeah.
But so many people, they look in the mirror to judge
Mm.
instead of to love. And that's why I say, how would we treat one another if we were all blind? That's another idea that has always flowed for me.
Mm.
Because as a kid, we're blind to hate. We're blind to bigotry. We're blind to the differences that we have in religion or politics. Go ask a 2-year-old, what do you think about that person's color? They're going to go, I like it. And then if they are raised in the wrong neighborhood, they're going to go, that's against what everything I believe. But why? Right? It's what is ingrained in us that we sometimes have to shed. We have to rub the dirt off. We're all born the same. Right? We are God's child. I know we come from paternal parents or right from humans, right? But in reality, we are all put here for a purpose. And what is that purpose? If you don't know your purpose, it's time to do some retrospect, some meditating, some mirror searching. Thoughts?
I love that idea. You talk about what would it be like if we didn't have the mirror and how the mirror can help us because it helps us to be able to see and to examine. Um, but it can also be detrimental because it can make us compare and
Mm,
judge and be discontent. And so we have to find that balance. We can't just rely on the mirror. The mirror can help us to be able to see, what am I reflecting? Do I like this?
mm,
Don't worry about what anybody else is telling me, but do I like me? Do I like what I'm doing and what I've done and the message that I
mm,
am giving out every day? Do I like this? And if not, what can I do about it? But we have to be so careful that we're not trying to make ourselves fit into someone else's mold. The scripture talks about us being the masterpiece of God. He didn't create a cookie cutter and say every single one of us is the exact same masterpiece, right? We're all different. We are created uniquely and given unique characteristics and personalities. So we're not going to fit into someone else's mold. So when we look in the mirror, we have to make sure that that mirror is not a cookie cutter that we're trying to appease, but rather an opportunity to truly reflect and say, okay, how am I doing? Am I serving my purpose? Am I doing it well? What is it that I, feel like I need to do and am I doing it? And that is where we find our growth. That is where we find ourselves improving even in communication because we understand
Mhm.
ourselves better and the message we want to portray to people
Oh, yeah.
rather than falling into the trap of just trying to live up to everybody else's expectations.
Mhm. Mhm. I love the fact that what you just said, that we're unique. We're so special. I heard someone tell someone else's daughter yesterday, I saw your doppelganger. And this young girl who's 10 years old goes, what? I was laughing, right? And then the mother's like, yeah, I actually thought it was you. And I went to call this girl out, and somebody said, that's not her. Don't call her out by that name. She's got longer hair. And so this young girl, 10 years old, is still baffled by being called a doppelganger, a double person, if you will, or somebody who's identical to you. And I was just observing. I didn't say a word. I wanted to see this young girl's reaction. And then someone, a friend of hers who was next to her, the other mother's kid, said, yeah, she looks like you, but she's not you. So that was a beautiful exchange
Mm.
of these two young ladies sharing, one, the confusion of being called a doppelganger, and then the other one saying, but don't worry, it's not you. You're special. You're unique. But if even if that didn't go into, if somebody didn't say it, her fingerprint will let her know that she's unique because there's no other fingerprint. How incredible is it that with over 8 billion people, there's no fingerprint that's alike?
Mm.
We may look alike. We may all bleed blood, red blood, but we're unique. And that's the sign that if you have a question, does God exist?
Mm.
Look at your fingerprint and be amazed by it. Because you are unique.
Well, and I think we can look at that fingerprint, and that's God's message to us. I see you.
Mm.
In a world of, billions and billions of people, he's saying, I see you. Just like that little girl told her friend, yeah, she looks like you, but it's not you. She was telling her friend, I see you. And I think that when we can stop and we look at things about us like our fingerprint and say, that is God saying, I see you, that
Mm.
helps us say it's okay if I'm not the cookie cutter, if it's okay if I'm not meeting everyone else's expectations because he sees me. I am unique. I was created with purpose and on purpose. I love that.
Mm.
Reminding yourselves of the fingerprint. That's God saying, I see you.
Oh, yeah. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. For example, I met Jeannie through a training that I was part of. She's been a trainer in the bank code for a long time, and what attracted me to this whole thing. I'm going to be super honest, Jeannie. I don't know if you ever heard this story, but we are talking about insights and stories, right?
Yes.
I heard about bank probably 18 months before, and the people that presented it did not do a good job. It didn't capture me or the other 56 people in the room. Nobody wanted to do anything with it. They didn't present the story correctly. It even led me to believe that they were the creators of this program.
Mm.
And even the person that brought them in thought so too. So they
Mm.
never gave credit where credit was due. Now, I became so invested in it when I met the founder. I love her name, right? Cherry Tree. Because here's the funny thing. I'm speaking on stage, and who goes before me? Cherry Tree. And when I got to this event, I saw they had these cards, right? They had this, and these are the cards, right? I have a bunch of different ones here, right? Because I have multiple cards, right? So I was like, I know that. And I dismissed it. And that's what happens when somebody doesn't tell the story correctly. We can dismiss it. When people don't understand something about God, it's because they maybe didn't hear the correct story. And there's my camera telling you that I had to zoom in, right? So, I told you this is a cool camera. I got to be careful of my signs. So, in in being in this event, the person said, "Oh yeah, this is," and I actually had the cards. Here's the thing: I had carried these cards in my book in my backpack, and I was carrying my backpack. And I pulled out the cards. I go, "Yeah, I know this. I got it." And they said, "Oh, we have our booth there." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." I never went to the booth. I said, "Yeah, I'll see you at the booth,"
Mm,
because they didn't present it. The story was not well presented at all.
mm,
And here I am, and I'm like, okay, the founder of this company is going to talk. She blew me away. She blew me away. And it was two words that truly captured me. Are you ready for them? People matter.
mm,
That's what they stand for. And when she presented it the correct way and the story made sense, I was like, sign me up. Sign me up. I'm part of this. I've become a trainer with it. I am thrilled to be part of it. Jeannie's an exceptional trainer. Oh my gosh. And she brings her heart. She definitely brings her heart when she trains, when she helps people. So if anybody wants to know more, it's to know your code. Just I put the link across the bottom. Come join us. It is an incredible organization and people matter. And that's how I met Jeannie. And Brigitte, who is also the co-host here, she said, well, I got one person that when I'm not available can be there. Do you know Jeannie? I'm like, oh, do I know Jeannie? She's going to step in for me. I'm like, wow, I am blessed. So thank you, Jeannie, for what you do and how you show up.
Thank you. You know, I love that value based, and I love the being able to have that other person's perception and stories. Be the hero of your story. I mean, there is so many stories with the value based system that it is mind blowing, and the stories are what get people to go, oh my goodness, I just had a disagreement with my spouse or whoever, and I see and hear and feel and now understand that it was their perception. Not right, not wrong, different perception, because we all wear a different pair of glasses and we look at things differently.
We do. We do.
Yeah.
And if you know your code, you know how to deal with that person.
Yeah.
Right?
You know, my husband and I always say perception is reality.
Mm.
My perception is my reality. And I feel all my emotions within my reality. when we first got married, I would get, upset or hurt about something, and he was just like, "I just don't get it. You shouldn't be upset." Right? And then to him, that was it. That was done. Like, you shouldn't feel that way, so don't. Let's move on. And of course, then that, that affects my emotion even more because my reality has not shifted because my perception is still the same. And so learning how to be able to see each other's perception, to understand, I don't agree with you, but that's because my perception is different from yours. But I can now understand your perception being this. That's your reality, and that's where your emotions are coming from. I have a better way now to understand that, communicate through that, have grace for someone else's feelings, even if I felt like my husband, he felt like, whatever, you just shouldn't feel that way. Well, now he's learned how to have grace for my emotions, and the same for me to him. So that understanding that perception is reality. That's where we feel everything. That's where we develop our understanding and our thoughts. So we have to be willing to see that our perception is not the only one out there. What is this other person's perception, and how is that affecting their reality and their emotions? And how can we begin to understand each other, even if our perceptions are different? So
Yeah.
I love that. It's all about perception.
Mhm.
Yes, it is. So for years, my perception when I looked in the mirror myself was not pretty. When I was
Mm,
younger, it wasn't pretty. It was of judgment, it was of all kinds of things and all kinds of stories I made up about me. And as I move forward, I have a saying that I said to myself for years. I'm 61 now. So this is many, many years ago. And every day I will say to myself, I'm whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy.
Oh,
And
love
so
it.
it is. And I had somebody, they said, perfect? You're perfect? I said, God created me, and today I am perfect in his eyes.
mm,
And
Mhm.
that's
Blessed.
my perfection. It's not my perfection. I
right.
don't it's the perfection of God.
Right.
Yeah. It's like Gideon, the story in the Bible about Gideon. He's hiding in the wine press. He's trying to save a little bit of grain for him and his family so that the enemy doesn't come in and take it from him. And so he's, down low, hiding and doing this. And the angel of the Lord appears to him and says, "Oh, you mighty warrior." And I imagine Gideon kind of doing a double take, like, "Who, me?"
What?
Like, I'm literally hiding right now, trying to hide from the enemy and save a little bit of food for my family. But
Uh-huh.
when God shows up and you listen to that message, and God says, "No, no, no, I have a better plan for you. I am the one that made you this way." Stepping into that, like you said, realizing, "No, no, no, this is what my creator says about me. So I'm going to tell myself this, and I'm going to choose to believe it."
Mhm.
Gideon had to choose to believe that message. We all have to choose to believe that message. And man, does it change the way we not only see ourselves, it changes the way we see the world and what we're able to do in this world. It's amazing how powerful that can be.
Mm.
Yeah,
It's also
that's
the words, right? The words we say to ourselves. And
Yes.
I love your affirmation, by the way, Jeannie. It's beautiful. One of the things it's very funny because in one of my businesses, I have several. I teach martial arts, and when somebody says, "I'm trying to be perfect," I go, "Don't." But this is how I say it. I say, "Don't." I said because once you become perfect, you're going to stop trying. I said
Mm,
it takes a lifetime, right? And your perfection will happen in heaven. And they're like, what is he talking about? But we we're sinners. We make mistakes. We're not perfect, but we strive for it. So one of the things I always say to somebody, I said, if you find a perfect person, please call me. Whatever I'm doing, I will drop it.
no
I need
idea.
to meet them. I want to meet them. And I might have met Jeannie today. So there you go. I want to meet this person because in my whole life, I've never met a person who doesn't make mistakes, who's not a sinner, who is absolutely glowing in every possible way. They wake up, their hair is perfect. They don't have bad breath. None of these things, right? Think about that.
Yeah.
We strive for perfection. And when you say, I am perfect, you're just saying, I am going to become what he's made me to become. I may not be there. I love this next word. And when we talk about the fundamentals of words, this is one of the most powerful words we can say when we dream, when we think. Yet. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm getting there.
Mhm. I like the idea that, stopping to think there's nothing wrong with me, my body, my appearance, the things that we can get so caught up in. Oh, but I don't look like her, or I don't act like him, or I don't have this talent or that talent. We begin to pick ourselves apart, which just tears us down because then we see all the things that we're lacking, that we don't have control over, right? So reminding ourselves, no, 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 I don't need to get caught up in trying to be perfect as the world would describe perfection.
Right.
I need to be focused on the fact that I am accepted, that my Savior sees me and he accepts me. I tell people all the time, I kind of joke about it. I can be a hot mess. Sometimes I go beyond hot mess and I become a spicy disaster.
Ooh, I
I
like
will
that.
own it because I know that I am accepted, that I am seen. And I think that is kind of like it goes along with those affirmations that you tell yourself, Jeannie, that idea of no, 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 no. I'm not getting caught up in all these things that I'm not. Because if we look too closely at all the things I'm not, then I'm going to be discontent. I'm going to think myself to be less than worthy. I'm going to diminish my own value. It's going to hold me back from whatever it is that I am created to do. And so instead, being able to see, no, 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 these are the things that the Lord has put in me. These are the things that I was created with and created to be. And these are the things I continue to strive for. It's powerful.
It is.
Yeah. And it's about, I'm going to slide. So it's about be you. Just be you. And it says it right behind me. And it reminds myself when I'm on camera, I'm kind of off a little bit today. And that it reminds myself to just be me. Just be me. Whatever that is today. Whatever that is.
Yeah.
Whether it's a hot mess or not.
Just own it.
So sometimes it's okay to be a warm mess too, not just a
Oh,
hot.
good.
There we go.
Considering everything we're talking about, one of the things that we have to truly understand is the insights that we do get from storytelling. But we need to get the insights only if we're listening, right? And that's another huge communication skill that so many people lack because they're not listening to their own story. We need to listen to our own story. What are we telling ourselves every single day? Am I worthy? Am I accepted? Who accepted me? Why do I need to be accepted by them? Why does it matter so much for a young person to be accepted into a group? And sometimes that's a group that's a terrible group to be accepted into. And instead of being accepted by the people that truly are going to be dynamic in your life, we forget that we've already been accepted. Right, Jodi? We've
Yes.
been accepted by the highest acceptance that we can have.
Yeah. I love that you remind us to check in and say, why is it so important for me to be accepted by this person or by this group of people? Why? Where is that coming from? And what will it do to me if I'm not accepted? Will it change who I am? Will it change my purpose? Will it change? And when we begin to see, you know what, it won't change my purpose. It won't change who God created me to be. It won't change me if these other sinners, right? They're on the same level as I am. If these other people don't like me or don't accept me, if I know that I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing and I am the person I am supposed to be and I am striving to communicate well and to be kind and to send a good message and do what I was called to do, then if someone doesn't accept me, I have to come to terms with that's okay. And
Mm,
it doesn't diminish my value.
mhm,
Unfortunately, for a long time, I fell in that trap. If
mhm,
other people didn't like me, something was wrong with me and I had to fix it.
mm,
But when you start looking at yourself that way, and all you're doing really becomes focused on how can I make sure everyone likes me, you're going to lose yourself. And pretty soon, if you take the time to stop and look in the mirror, you're not going to recognize who's looking back at you. You're
mhm.
probably not even gonna like who's looking back at you.
Right?
And so it's so important to really allow ourselves to question and say, why is it so important for me to be accepted by this person or that person or group or whatever?
Mm,
And what will it do if I'm not accepted?
mm.
Kind of check in. We have to really check in. Is it, well, if they accept me, it means I'm something. Okay, but guess what? You're something whether or not they accept you. That won't change. We
Mhm,
just have to be, it's that people pleaser in us. I think we have to be willing to set that aside and say, I'm not going to make everyone happy in this world. The only
mhm.
one I need to be concerned about making happy is my creator and those that he has specifically placed in my life to help build me up, not make me feel like I'm constantly working to meet everyone else's expectations.
Wow, so powerful. I I was fortunate when I was younger. I used to go to a lot of bodybuilding events, and I used to go backstage and photograph and with my big cameras and all this stuff. And I was watching all these people transform their bodies so that they would be accepted into a community that judged them. Think about that.
Mm.
People that looked at them and said, you're not good enough. You need to do more. And therefore, some of them, yeah, they did the drugs, they did steroids, they did things that were illegal. Forget the fact that they were illegal, they were harming their own bodies to achieve something that they could not do without that substance. They were trying to be accepted by a community to get a trophy, to make money. And it's still happening today. Athletes, pro athletes, that's why there's all this testing that goes on. And they find ways to try to navigate those waters so that they can still do the illegal things and somehow come out. But in the end, who are they
I,
inside?
oh my gosh, like that whole path of Sifu is, I have a couple of girlfriends that are very much involved in that competition and that body and that zero fat, and God bless them.
Mhm.
So the question was, how did you get involved in this and what's in it for you? What is it all
Mm.
about for you? And for one of them, it was an addiction. It was
Mhm.
literally an addiction to doing that and being part of that. No drugs, neither one of them, no drugs, but it was all that addiction and that high of being on the stage. And they just got addicted to doing it. And I was like, wow, I personally never saw that. And the conversations and the communication that they had with themselves was so negative. They would never say that to other people, right? So it starts with, again, it all comes back to that communication with thyself and the acceptance of thyself.
I was around so many people who did that. I even trained some of them. I trained professional bodybuilders. I've trained models. I've trained all different people, because a model is what? They have to have a certain type of body to satisfy somebody else's desires, not even their own sometimes. But here's the crazy thing. My son, who's 23, God bless him, decided he's going to be a professional bodybuilder. But there's a caveat. He knows how I feel. You know what he said, Dad? I'm not taking any drugs. I'm doing the natural circuit. And there is a natural circuit for people who do that. And I said, Marco, why are you doing this? I just want to be able to prove to myself. So that's his drive, self. And he's got such a great head on his shoulder that shoulders, he doesn't have just one shoulder. And here's the thing. He's a chef right now, and he's trying to become he's working in a nursing home because he's going into a natural type of chef. He wants to help people with nutrition. So he wants to prove that he can physically do it, but he's eating right and he's cooking correctly. So he is on the right path to something that other people have done it the wrong way. So his addiction is not to prove anything to anyone, but to say, I can. Right? And his values are so pure. And one of the things that he said to me recently is, Dad, it kind of blew me away. Dad, I always think about all the lessons you've taught me along the way. Every time when I'm going to do something, I think about the lessons, the way you use your mind. And I want to be like that. I want to think about things. And sometimes when he's having trouble, he'll call me and I'll say, let's walk through it, work it out. But the most important thing, I can't do it for you. You have to do it. And, we've gotten very close because of that,
What a beautiful journey.
Mm-hmm.
What a beautiful journey.
He's on a beautiful one for sure. I'm
It's
just glad to
definitely
be able
something.
to guide, right?
Yeah, that's definitely something every parent, I think, longs to hear. Mom, dad, when I'm faced with something, I think about what you taught me. I think about what I've learned from you. And that in itself is beautiful because that shows that is like a reward of your years of communication with
Mhm.
him,
Mhm.
instilling these messages and this thought process and everything in him that you now get to see and just reap the benefits from seeing him use them with wisdom, it sounds like. That's great.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm so proud of both my boys. I mean, at 20, he bought his brand new car, paid cash for it because of and how I taught him how to think about money, right? Nobody taught me. I had to teach myself. My other son, God bless him, he just turned 20 this year. He's already talking about, Dad, I think I can retire in 3 years. At 20, he's telling me this. He buys sports cars for fun. He invests his money. One of the things I said to him, I said, listen, there's a person in your life who is brilliant. Learn from him. And he did. And that's why my son can say that. And he goes, Dad, but I don't want to just retire and do nothing. I'll be bored. I want to teach people how I made my the fact that I can retire at 23.
Mm.
I want to help. I want to pass it forward. I said, that's listen, I'm blessed with two beautiful boys. So yeah. At 20, wow, what a head on his shoulders, right?
Wow. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Mhm. And one of the things I said to him, I said, "You have 3." At the time, it was 2, then he bought another one. He bought a, Porsche Macaron, and then I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "You can't drive them all." He goes, "I know, Dad." And I said, "Why?" He goes, "Dad, remember you taught me how to have 4 different accounts? That's my fun account. That's my fun account, so don't worry about it." I said, "Okay." I said, "Do me one favor, don't die." Right? Don't get
Just be
crazy with the sports
careful.
cars. Yeah, yeah. But it's what we can, teach not only our children, but in the process of teaching someone else, you're learning as well. And that's why I say I can't learn while I'm speaking, ever.
Mhm.
So ladies, talk because I'm here to learn.
Well, we're here to learn too.
Oh, good. I
You
love
know,
that. I love that.
well, and I love this idea, I can't learn when I'm speaking. But yeah, we do have to speak, right? We can't just go through life quiet, just observing everyone. We have to be able to communicate as well. And so the balance, finding the balance. How much do I speak? And then how much do I hold my tongue and listen and actually make sure that I'm paying attention. Like Jeannie said at the very beginning, being present in the situation, the conversation. I try to teach my kids this whole idea of one-upping. We always have to, my kids,
Mm.
they're kids. They like to one-up each other. It's like, oh, look at the
Right.
grade I got. And the other one's like, well, look at what I got. And
Mm.
they just keep going. And trying to teach them, like, "Hey, stop. First of all, in this, well, look at me, but look at me, look at me." All you're doing is comparing and you're minimizing the successes of your siblings. And so, when to know, even if you have something that's like, "Oh, guess what? I have something exciting too." But you know what? If I jump in because you're telling me something exciting that you're really proud of, or you just can't wait because something's happening or whatever, and then I just jump in with my own exciting story. Am I really listening? Am I really giving you, am I communicating to you the value of your moment, of your excitement, of your success, or whatever it is? Even if I have success or excitement that I want to share as well, the balance, recognize the timing. You know what? Maybe this moment isn't the time for me to also share my good news, but to just take 5 minutes to just celebrate with you, to just truly listen and just sit there and be excited with that friend or that person, because your time will come. You will then be able, because when you are listening and you are giving them that value and showing it's worth your time to sit and listen and just be in their excitement or maybe even their grief or their sorrow, you're communicating so much more to them that when it is your turn to share, whether it is the excitement or whether it's grief or sorrow, they're going to be ready to be able to do that for you because you've already modeled that for them. You have spoken that message of value to them and they want to speak it back to you. This is how we learn from each other. I can learn how to be quiet and how to just listen and just be in that moment with that person rather than having to jump it and take it back to me talking about me again. So finding that balance is really something that is beneficial to our relationships and how we end up seeing other people communicating with us. They will often communicate with us in the way that we've modeled for them. So we really have the power to set the tone of how to communicate within our relationships.
Love it. Love
Yeah.
it.
Expert modeling.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I got to say, I love how you went into the aspects of listening. And it's something I recently heard, and it really kicked it for me. You talked about the word listen. But if we take that particular word and we flip the words around, it spells an action. Listen is one. The action that it gives us is, are you ready? We got listen. Be silent. So silent. Take the word listen, flip the words around, silent. In order to listen, you need to be silent, including your own inner thoughts.
Yes, yes. I
It's
don't know.
it's
Silent your mind.
yeah, listening to relate makes you present, and that shuts off your head because you're listening not to, well, let me throw another question at you, and listening to really relate and listening with your whole body and shutting this off, right? Because that's when we get into ooh, and just being fully present to celebrate or to support or whatever the case may be. People want to be, human beings want to be seen and heard.
Mhm.
Guess what, ladies? We went way over. I have another show I have to run to. But before I go, Jodi, I am so blessed to know you. If anybody does not have this book, get it. Gentlemen, take the WO out of it and buy the book, right? Jodi, you have 30 seconds. Tell us how to connect with you. Your website is going across the bottom.
Awesome. Yeah, I just got the best way to connect with me is to visit my website, jodihendricks.com. And there you'll be able to find other ways to connect, whether you join my weekly newsletter for a devotional or you connect with me on socials. But you'll also get to see where you can purchase the book, hashtag no filter, and stay in touch to be able to see the books coming in this series, in this hashtag Bible study series that all focuses on different aspects of our identity in Christ. So that's going to be the best way to just be able to keep in touch and know what's happening.
Love it. Love it. And Jeanne, you actually have a gift from our co-host, Brigitte. So would you mind sharing?
So it is a wonderful checklist, and it's on listening skills. It's a listening checklist that the Center of NLP, I'm the coach liaison with them. Center and NLP, it is a free gift. So go ahead and click that link. And if you want to reach out to me, I am the only Jeanne Zierhoffer in the United States on LinkedIn. So just look me up on LinkedIn.
There you go. Love it. And I'm Sifu Rafael, so I'm everywhere. So come find me. Let's have a conversation, people. I love helping people. That is my mission from God, and I'm here to help. Thank you, ladies. This was the best show ever because I had two beautiful women with me. Jodi, we need you back. So come back. And Jeanne, you're going to be back so many times. I love it. I love it.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Everybody have a beautiful rest of your day. Make today an incredible one. Happy Friday, everybody.
This is Speaking Prowess.